Hello friends, myself Dr. Nandakumar Rao from College of Engineering Ambazur is going to deal with Applied Thermodynamics 1. This is our 32th lecture. In previous lecture, we have seen Introduction to Steam Nozzle, and then we discussed about flow of steam through nozzle. We obtained condition for maximum discharge in previous lecture. Now, today we will discuss the maximum discharge for the nozzle, velocity at a maximum discharge condition, effect of back pressure on the velocity mass flow rate of steam, the expansion of steam considering friction, supersaturated or metastable flow through the nozzle. Today we are going to discuss about maximum discharge through nozzle. So in previous class we have obtained the condition for maximum discharge as P2 divided by P1 is equal to 2 divided by n plus 1 whole to the power n divided by n minus 1. This pressure ratio, which gives maximum discharge through the nozzle, is known as a critical pressure ratio. It is known as critical pressure ratio. Now, if the value of polytropic index, if the steam is dry saturated, the value of n is taken as 1.135 for saturated steam, and n value is taken as 1.3 for superheated steam. Now substituting these two values in above equation, we get this critical pressure ratio for saturated steam P2 divided by P1 as, if we substitute 1.135 in place of n in this above equation, P2 divided by P1 will be equal to 0.58. This is for saturated steam. And if we substitute n is equal to 1.3, then this pressure ratio P2 divided by P1 is equal to 0.5457 for superheated steam. Now we will move towards the condition for maximum discharge. Condition for maximum discharge. So in previous class we have derived one equation. That equation was mass of steam is equal to A2 divided by V1 in square root two n divided by n minus 1 p1 v1 in bracket p2 divided by p1 to the power of 2 divided by n minus p2 divided by p1 to the power of n plus 1 divided by n. So this was the equation number 6. So equation number 6 we have taken as it is. Now in this equation number 6, substituting the condition for maximum discharge, that is wherever there is P2 divided by P1, if we substitute P2 divided by P1 equal to 2 divided by n plus 1 to the power of n minus 1, then we get this equation as equation of maximum discharge. So this is equal to A2 divided by V1, we write as it is, square root so here 2 divided by n minus 1 we forward take as it is, P1 V1 we also take as it is, and in place of P2 divided by P1 we substitute 2 divided by n plus 1 to the power of n divided by n minus 1, and this power 2 divided by n will be in multiplication 2 divided by n minus, again in place of P2 divided by P1 we substitute 2 divided by n plus 1 to the power of n divided by n minus 1, and original power, that is n plus 1 divided by n, will remain as it is. Then closing this bracket. Now we will simplify. This n gets cancelled, this n gets cancelled, and the things which are going to remain we will rewrite as it is. Mass of steam or maximum mass of steam or discharge is equal to A2 divided by V1 square root of 2n divided by n minus 1 P1 V1 in bracket 2 divided by n plus 1 to the power of 2 divided by n minus 1 minus of 2 divided by n plus 1 to the power of n plus 1 divided by n minus 1. Now transferring this v1 into the square root. If we want to transfer this v1 into the square root, we have to square it and then we have to transfer it into the square root. So this is equal to a2 square root 2n divided by n minus 1. So if v1 is taken into the bracket, it will be v square. V square in denominator and v1 in numerator gets cancelled, and in denominator we will have only v1, p1 divided by v1. See here, v1 divided by v1 square. So square gets cancelled with v1. So what is going to remain? v1. So p1 divided by v1, and from this bracket we are going to take common as 2 divided by n plus 1 to the power of n plus 1 divided by n minus 1. So taking this term, second term, as a common, so take it outside this bracket. So this can be written as 2 divided by n plus 1 to the power of n plus 1 divided by n minus 1 in bracket. Here it remains as 2 divided by n plus 1 to the power of 2 divided by n minus 1, and when we take it as a common factor, so we have to divide this term by second term, that is 2 divided by n plus 1 to the power of n plus 1 divided by n minus 1. It comes into the denominator. So we write this in the denominator, 2 divided by n plus 1 to the power of n plus 1 divided by n minus 1 minus of 1, close this bracket. So further, a2 in square root 2n divided by n minus 1 v1 v1 2 divided by n plus 1 to the power of n plus 1 divided by n minus 1. So here what we can do is, this term which is in the denominator is transferred into the numerator. When we transfer it into the numerator, power sign will change, it will become negative. So bases are same, indices can be added. Directly we can write it as 2 divided by n plus 1 to the power of 2 divided by n minus 1. So if this term is taken into the numerator, it will be in multiplication, but this power n plus 1 divided by n minus 1 will become negative. So bases will be same, indices can be added. So minus n plus 1 divided by n minus 1 and minus 1, which is here. So this is taken as it is. So now in this numerator, in this power, denominator is n minus 1, n minus 1. So in next page we will simplify this, or we will simplify here itself. 2 divided by n minus 1 minus n plus 1 divided by n minus 1. So here if you see, n minus 1 is LCM, 2 minus n minus 1. So minus 1 plus 2. So this becomes 1 minus of n divided by n minus 1. Is it? So this, if we simplify, if we take minus common, this will be n minus 1 divided by n minus 1. N minus 1, n minus 1 gets cancelled. What is going to remain is minus 1. So minus 1 will remain in this numerator. So minus 1 will be the power of this 2 divided by n plus 1. So in next slide we will write this equation with this power. This we have worked out. 2 divided by n minus 1 minus of n plus 1 divided by n minus 1 will become minus 1. So just we have simplified this. Minus 1 means this 2 divided by n plus 1 can be reversed. The reciprocal of this can be taken, and this can be written as n plus 1 divided by 2. That we will do in next slide. So here it can be written as maximum discharge is equal to A2 square root of 2n divided by n minus 1 v1 divided by v1 bracket 2 divided by n plus 1 to the power of n plus 1 divided by n minus 1 in another bracket 2 divided by n plus 1 to the power of minus 1. We can write minus of 1. Then after this we can rewrite this as A2 square root of 2n divided by n minus 1 v1 to v1 as it is 2 divided by n plus 1 to the power of n plus 1 divided by n minus 1. So in this bracket 2 divided by n plus 1 power is minus 1. This can be written as n plus 1 divided by 2 minus 1. So again we can simplify this bracket. This bracket n plus 1 divided by 2 minus 1 LCM will be 2. n plus 1, 2 into 1 is minus 2. So this becomes n minus 1 divided by 2. So this bracket becomes n minus 1 divided by 2. So we will write it as a2 square root of 2n divided by n minus 1 p1 v1 2 divided by n plus 1 to the power of n plus 1 divided by n minus 1, and this can be written as n minus 1 divided by 2. So this bracket is written as n minus 1 divided by 2. So now 2 is 2 gets cancelled, n minus 1 gets cancelled. So now we can rewrite this equation as a2 square root of n p1 v1 2 divided by n plus 1 to the power of n plus 1 divided by n minus 1. So this is known as the maximum discharge. So this we call as equation number. Now we'll go for velocity at the maximum discharge. So we have obtained one equation for velocity v2. v2 is equal to square root of equation number 5 that we have derived in previous lecture, 2 divided by n minus 1 v1 bracket 1 minus p2 divided by p1 to the power of n minus 1 divided by n. Close this bracket. So here again we will substitute p2 divided by p1 is equal to, the condition for maximum discharge was 2 divided by n plus 1 to the power of n divided by n minus 1. So this is the condition for maximum discharge. If we substitute this condition for maximum discharge in this equation of velocity, then we will get velocity at maximum discharge. So here we'll substitute p2 divided by p1 as 2 divided by n plus 1 to the power of n minus 1. So square root of 2n divided by n minus 1 p1 v1 as it is. One minus p2 divided by p1 is nothing but 2 divided by n plus 1 to the power of n divided by n minus 1. So this power into this power is n minus 1 divided by n minus 1 divided by n. So now we can see here n gets cancelled, n minus 1 gets cancelled. Square root of 2n divided by n minus 1 p1 v1 in this bracket 1 minus 2 divided by n plus 1 is going to remain. Now taking n plus 1 as the LCM, 2n divided by n minus 1 v1 v1 into n plus 1 is taken as LCM. N plus 1 into 1 is n plus 1 minus 2. On simplification, plus 1 minus 2, this becomes minus 1. Square root of 2n divided by n minus 1 v1 v1. This can be written as n minus 1 divided by n plus 1. So this n minus 1, this n minus 1 gets cancelled. Finally, you can write this velocity v2 at maximum discharge as 2n divided by n plus 1 v1 v1 as equation number 9. So this was equation number 5. So substituting these values of p2 divided by p1 in equation number 5, we get this equation number 9. Now we'll discuss the effect of back pressure. Effect of back pressure. So what is this back pressure? So it is the pressure exerted at the end of a turbine. So that back pressure is equal to the condenser pressure. The condenser pressure has effect over the mass flow rate as well as velocity and actual specific volume of steam. Now here we can see here the value of back pressure is 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 and 14 on x-axis. So back pressure is nothing but the pressure exerted or pressure in a condenser, which is a negative pressure. Negative pressure means vacuum is created in the condenser. Now if the lowest is the pressure, maximum amount of enthalpy can be converted into useful work. So lowest is the back pressure, highest will be the work done. Now if we see here, as this back pressure is reduced, what is effect of back pressure on the velocity? So if back pressure is reduced, this velocity is going to increase. With reduction in the back pressure, velocity of steam increases, and to certain extent this actual specific volume remains constant, and at the end this also starts to increase gradually. So very low effect is observed on this specific volume of steam, whereas the effect of back pressure, with reduction in the back pressure, the mass flow rate initially increases to some extent and it reaches to the maximum at a particular pressure, and beyond that this mass flow rate also decreases. So this mass flow rate also is going to reduce if this back pressure is still further reduced, but this velocity is going to increase with reduction in the back pressure. So this is the effect of back pressure over the flow of steam. That back pressure is nothing but pressure maintained in the condenser or at the end of turbine. Now we'll see expansion of steam considering friction. Now when steam is passed through the nozzle, so when it is passed through the nozzle, say this is the nozzle, when steam is passed through this nozzle, so this steam comes in contact with this wall of steam nozzle, and there will be friction between the surface of nozzle and steam. So that friction is having effect. So always wherever there is a friction, it generates heat. So the exit velocity of steam is given for a given pressure drop is reduced due to following reasons. So what happens here, if the steam is passed through this nozzle, the velocity at the outlet, say for example it should be V2, at inlet it is V1. So say it is 10 meters per second, and when it comes out it has to be 20 meters per second for example. But due to friction, this velocity which comes out, velocity of steam coming out of this nozzle may not be 20 meters per second, it may be 18 meters per second. So what is the reason? It is because of friction. So the exit velocity of steam for a given pressure drop say for example P1 and P2 are the pressures at inlet and outlet. So delta P is nothing but P2 P1 minus P2 for given pressure drop. So it is expected that the velocity of steam must be 20 meters per second, but actually the velocity of steam also is less. The exit velocity of steam for a given pressure drop is reduced, that is nothing but instead of 20 it comes at 18 meters per second. So what are the reasons for reduction in the velocity of steam coming out of this nozzle? The very first reason is due to friction between nozzle surface and steam. Due to friction between the nozzle surface and steam. As I told you, there will be friction between nozzle surface and steam. The second reason is due to internal fluid friction in the steam. Say here when steam is passing through this nozzle, so these two layers of steam are going to have friction with each other. So this friction also reduces the velocity. So due to friction between layers of steam, or this is called as a internal fluid friction. This is called as internal fluid friction. Number 3, due to shock losses. So what happens when the steam comes into this nozzle and suddenly it gets expanded at the exit? So this sudden expansion or shock reduces the velocity of steam due to shock losses. Now we'll see effect of these frictional losses. So here what happens if there is a friction between the nozzle surface and steam and internal friction of fluid? So what is the effect which comes or which results that we are going to see? So effect of these frictional losses is number 1, expansion is no more isentropic and enthalpy drop is reduced. So when steam is passed, initial pressure is P1, final pressure is P2, initial velocity is V1, final velocity is V2, initial enthalpy is H1, final enthalpy is H2. So what is assumed is nozzle is insulated, there is no transfer of heat in the system or from the system to surrounding. So Q is equal to 0, it is assumed. But because of friction, heat is produced, and as heat is produced on TS or HS diagram, HS or TS diagram, generally we represent isentropic process by vertical line. So now, because of friction, this entropy is not going to remain constant. Entropy is going to increase because heat is produced. So heat is supplied, because of that entropy is going to increase. So instead of having a vertical line, so this expansion will fall inclined line. So initially what we assume, S1 is equal to S2. S1 is equal to S2, but S2 dash we are going to obtain. So entropy at the end of expansion is not going to remain same as we expect. So this is called as the flow through nozzle is not going to remain isentropic. So first one is expansion is no more isentropic and so what happens, initial enthalpy is H1, final enthalpy is H2. So enthalpy drop H1 minus H2 theoretically say whatever we say, it will not be that much drop. Say for example, initial enthalpy is 10 kilojoules per kg and final enthalpy it should be 5 kilojoules per kg. Because of heat generation, instead of enthalpy of 5 kilojoules per kg at the exit, it will be 6 kilojoules per kg. So we will not achieve expected enthalpy drop because of friction. So enthalpy drop is reduced. So here enthalpy drop in the sense 10 minus 5, enthalpy drop has to be 5, but here 10 minus 6, enthalpy drop is going to be 4 kilojoules. Theoretically we say that enthalpy drop must be 5 kilojoules, but practically the enthalpy drop will be 4 kilojoules because of heating of steam. So this is nothing but reduction in the enthalpy drop. So delta H, theoretically it must be 5, but practically delta H we are going to get as 4 and enthalpy drop is reduced. Second one, the quality of steam is increased quality of steam is increased as part of kinetic energy gets converted into heat. Into heat due to friction. Quality of steam in the sense, so for example, steam coming out of this nozzle must be wet. As the expansion takes place, due to expansion, quality of steam has to become poor. So instead of coming wet steam, it may come as a dry saturated steam, or instead of coming as a dry saturated steam, it is going to come as a superheated steam, because heat energy is produced, and that heat which is produced in this friction because of nozzle improves the quality of steam. Expectation is, say for example, steam coming out should have 0.7 as the dryness fraction because of heat produced. So this dryness fraction may be 0.8. Quality of steam is going to improve, or it may be 0.9, or it can be x is equal to 1. So the quality of steam gets improved because heat addition takes place, which is produced due to friction with increase in enthalpy. So here enthalpy is going to increase. Then third effect of this friction is specific volume of steam specific volume of steam is increased as steam becomes dry, or quality of steam gets improved. As quality of steam gets improved, then this is to happen. So these are the effects of friction over the qualities of steam. So some of the things are remaining. With the help of Mollier chart, we have to discuss how this is going to happen, that we will see. Now you can see here. So for example, steam when enters into this nozzle at point A is dry saturated, and if it follows this isentropic expansion, so it has to follow the path A to B. Say for example, this is pressure P1 and this is pressure P2. So this line is constant pressure line. This is HS diagram. We call it as a Mollier chart. So on Mollier chart, these are the constant pressure line. This is a dry saturated curve. So here, steam when it enters into this turbine or nozzle, say nozzle, it has to follow isentropic expansion, and at the end of expansion, its pressure gets reduced to P2. So the condition of steam must be at point B, but because of friction, so instead of following this vertical path, the isentropic expansion, the path followed by steam is E to D, it gets deviated and at point D. So now if we see the quality of steam at B and at quality of steam at D. So here the quality of steam will be wet, and at point D quality of steam is dry. Because of friction, the quality of steam gets improved. So here HA is enthalpy at point A, HB is enthalpy at point B. Enthalpy drop, it is HA minus of HB. So this is actual enthalpy drop, but practically enthalpy drop is not going to be HA minus HB, it is going to be HA minus HD. So enthalpy at point A is given by here HA, enthalpy at point B is HB, and enthalpy at point D is HD. So enthalpy, instead of getting reduced up to B, it is reduced up to D. So enthalpy drop is going to reduce. So this is called as the effect of friction. So again, if we are using a superheated steam, enthalpy of steam will be HA1. We call it as HA1, and theoretically it has to reduce its enthalpy up to B1, that means HB1. But practically what happens, because of friction, enthalpy or steam quality improves. Instead of B1, it stops at D1, it deviates. So it will not be isentropic expansion, and it stops at point D1. So enthalpy at point D1, we can call it as a HD1. So again, here delta H, which is theoretically it must be HA1 minus HB1, but practically delta H which we are going to get is HA1 minus HD1. So now this loss which is seen, effect of friction, is taken into account by introducing the factor called nozzle efficiency. So nozzle efficiency is brought into the existence to know the effect of friction. So now the nozzle efficiency is defined as nozzle efficiency is equal to actual enthalpy drop divided by isentropic enthalpy drop. The actual enthalpy drop is HA minus of HD, HA minus HD, and isentropic enthalpy drop is HA minus of HB into 100. So this is called as a nozzle efficiency. The exit velocity considering friction is given by exit velocity again. So this is nozzle efficiency. The exit velocity of steam V2 is equal to 44.72 square root of nozzle efficiency into isentropic enthalpy drop. So the equation which we had derived was 44.72 square root of nozzle efficiency was not there. So we had considered the expansion will be isentropic, but practically the expansion is not isentropic. So therefore we are multiplying this enthalpy drop by nozzle efficiency. So here square root of nozzle efficiency is taken out. So this is written as 44.72 into K square root of delta H isentropic. So K is where K is equal to square root of nozzle efficiency. So this is how velocity of steam is also given in terms of nozzle efficiency. What is this nozzle efficiency? So it is nothing but the ratio of actual enthalpy drop to the isentropic enthalpy drop. So this we call as a theoretical enthalpy drop, and this is actual enthalpy drop. So the ratio of actual enthalpy drop to the theoretical enthalpy drop or isentropic enthalpy drop is nothing but nozzle efficiency. So in next class we will see supersaturated or metastable flow through nozzle and few numericals on this nozzle.